Alright, I've finally broken my rule about Jurassic Park-esque dinosaurs. A while ago, I rewatched the Jurassic Park trilogy and I was hit by a pang of nostalgia. I realized how much the movies meant to me, especially the first and the second. So I decided to get some Jurassic Park dinosaurs, actual dinosaurs, not monsters like the Indoraptor, as a kind of commemoration. I donated some figures to free up some space, and when released images of this once and future king buck T-Rex dropped, it was obvious what my first JP dinosaur would be. There are 3 color variants to this: the obsidian, the mountain, and the future. I love black, but the obsidian wasn't black enough for my liking. The tiger stripes of the mountain are really intriguing, but in the end, I went with the future, simply because it looked the best to me, and it was, after all, the original color as in the movie. Now, I won't do my usual science behind, since we all know what T-Rex is, nor will I bother commenting about the accuracies of this T-Rex, since that would be pointless here. So let's just look at this fabulous model from Nanmu. This model is stated as being 1:35 scale, yet it measures 44 centimeters or about 17 inches long, meaning an adult of 15.2 meters or a monstrous 50 feet. I believe the buck in the Lost World was listed as 40 feet or 12.2 meters. I'm sure one of you Jurassic Park aficionados will tell me if that's correct. But if that 40 feet is correct, then this model is really about 1:28 scale. Right off, my overall impression is presence. You immediately get the sense of a big, towering animal, and I really feel it's the end for whichever victim it locks sights on. Together with the generally very dark green, there's something majestic and menacing about it. And speaking of the color, I think one glance will already show you the richness of hues and variations across this entire T-Rex. The color saturation is really deep, and it looks like it's been built up over many layers. Washes of color lend the complexity to what's essentially just one dominant color. The pose itself is sinister, as if stalking, hunting, or just rampaging through the city. In fact, very reminiscent of the sideshow Tyrannosaurus. And this thing stands quite well on 2 feet. Let's take a closer look. Starting with the head, just the head itself gives you an idea of the quality you'll find in the rest of the animal. You'll see it's unmistakably Jurassic Park-esque, with that zigzag margin through the jugal region here. I'll look at all that superb detail, the various rugosities, the keratinous bosses, the facial and rostral scales, the mandible, you can see how every single scale looks different. Even irregularities like this slant of scales here, through the jaw. It's so natural looking and visually pleasing. Such a fine mosaic of interlocking scales. The evil eyes, so look at that detail. Not only is it accurately painted, but the sclera themselves look like they've got blood vessels in them. Look at the scale detail on the eyelids. The ridge of osteoderms forming a very nice frame around the orbital area. The jaw articulates, You get quite a nice gape here, and the action is pretty smooth. On mine, however, at this point, there seems to be a looseness, which might magnify in time, but in this case it's not a big deal for me, since I plan to have the mouth open for display. And you can see for the teeth, now truly I can say it's some of the most impressive and natural I've seen. There's a yellowing, like a staining of the enamel. And around the gums, I mean, all this looks like real organic tissue that's ripped through blood and gore before. Again, just look at the translucency of the teeth here. I mean, this is the kind of rendering I would expect in a sideshow collectible. The pseudo cheeks are almost uncomfortably riddled with the muscular detail. And the tongue, definitely no short shrift given here. Just look at that! I've seen my fair share of tongues before, and this looks real. With all the hints of the lingual blood vessels underneath. And on the underside, on the palate, you'll see the choanal openings. Just look at all that oral soft tissue, and this will either make you wish you'd done dentistry or turn you off it forever. As for the color, really I don't have the vocabulary to be exacting here, but you can just see for yourself. Variations across the face, the margin of the antorbital fenestra, the faint striping here, the oral margins, then around the eyes, the keratinous rugosities across the head, going down, you'll see the very thick neck. I know Nanmu did have a male repaint of their female T-Rex, but I felt that lacked the thickness in the neck the buck should have. Now you get that here. I'll look at the detail again. And this you'll see continue down the rest of the body. And here in the throat, the lighter coloration flows from the jaw. You can see all the detail of the blood vessels, the skin, and the musculature. Continuing down, you'll see the same kind of paint application. There's an almost oily look to it, with dark greens, olives, gold greens, some yellows. They all mix very well. The characteristic stripes look very naturally rendered. It's just a really complex paint application that shows a lot of care has been put into it. See from the top, and the sides, everywhere you see washes and natural color transitions. Generally, the texture of the skin isn't spared any detail. The multitudinous skin creases, scale detail, I will say, however, that some of it doesn't seem to flow very naturally. For example, here across the scapula, which is abruptly met with a sudden change in orientation here. The body plan is decidedly retro, including the pronated arms, which are faithful to what they represent. And while we're down here, you can see that Jurassic Park style stomach scalation. Quite a departure from the chainmail style we've seen in PNSO. Then we have the powerful legs. Look at these muscular bundles. Even what looks like the tensor fascia lata. Oh no, that's wrong. It's probably the glute med here. Down to the very bird-like feet here with the scales. Again, wow, that color application. I really like the nails as well. And again, just really nice paint application here. And finally, a tour down the tail. You'll see much of the same quality. Now this is the deluxe version, which comes with the base. Just look at this base. While at first glance it looks like an outcrop of rock you've seen 100 times before, the detail. Look at these almost contour lines. And on top of that, the color. There's a multitude of colors as if to represent various processes of mineralization, fluorite perhaps. This base feels solid and heavy, almost like metal. Oh, look at the layers, it's really pleasing. I definitely recommend getting this base if you have the option. It's really one of the very few bases I have that are a beauty in itself, and it's a really worthy pedestal for this awesome T-Rex, a perch for him to survey his territory from. There's also this small figure here. Now, who it represents in the franchise may be Claire, I couldn't tell. But you can see that it's a pretty sexy, well-shaped lady. Now, this card here has some information about the T-Rex. And here, a very nice painting of the once and future king on his rocky perch. For an idea of the size, here he is next to the 1:35 PNSO Wilson T-Rex. and the Wild Safari T-Rex. So that's it for Nanmu's once and future king, Buck T-Rex. Now, having had this, I can understand why people love the Nanmu dinosaurs, especially those who really love the Jurassic Park movies. The sculpting, the paint application, it's just a high quality model that happens to be of a Jurassic Park dinosaur. Now, if Nanmu were to decide to make real dinosaurs, they'll really be a company to reckon with. So I hope you've enjoyed this little look, and I'll see you soon with another video.